baseline of really where are we, and then being able to give them the tools to assess their own businesses and choose the culture that they want in order to become that employer of choice. So thank you so much to Yuhi and Betsy for joining. And I really appreciate Darren and Bianca for being in the gallery and asking their questions today. The group is going to be joining us back in here shortly.
Oh, we're back. We've been
Oh,
back.
you're back.
Thank you. We've been listening this whole time, Sasha.
That should be a very interesting re-entry for everyone.
I know. They're like, wait, were we talking about? We do have a few new folks on the call, so I want to remind everyone why CPC exists, again, to foster industry-wide consensus on the performance benchmarks of project delivery in the digital age. Really, the idea of tell me how I measure it, and I'll tell you how I behave. Everything from workflows in operations to mental health and inclusion and diversity. So again, as long as they're aligning with these guiding principles of caring for people, of fixing the process, or of advancing our industry, it kind of fits in the wheelhouse of innovation initiatives that CPC wants to take on and move the industry forward in partnership with collaboration partners, our AEC members, and our technology solution providers. But let's dive into our first recap. You heard a fair amount at the end of it here that Sasha was leading in our main room. But Sasha, why don't you take us away and tell us a little bit about what you guys talked about and any outcomes from it.
So we had Betsy Bagley, who is the co-founder of Pulsely, which is an AI-driven platform that leverages research, survey data, HR data, et cetera, to help the business really focus in on the areas where their employees are being impacted the most, negatively and positively. So the business really knows how and where to focus on policy changes, structuring ways of culture in order to really become that employer of choice. And we had Yuhi Aizawa Kabadi from the AGC of California. She is their Senior Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Manager. And she was reporting to us on some of the things that AGC is doing around not just educating, but creating initiatives like Build California and Project Engage, which are bringing together multiple stakeholders to provide education opportunities, workshops, change the perception of what a career in construction looks like in order to help the general contractor and specialty contractors really solve the workforce, the labor shortage challenge. And once we're attracting those individuals, how are we really retaining them? So the focus of our conversation was around how do we leverage data to really help us adjust the parts of the business that allows us to retain not only the workforce we have currently, but this more diverse workforce that we're trying to attract. And so where outcomes is we're actually launching a research project, ta-da, announcement. So we'll be partnering with AGC, CPC, Procore, and Pulsely will be partnering to put together a research project around retention and trying to find ways to get to better understand why people are leaving construction, not just women and minorities, but people in general, to give the businesses a greater sense of prioritizing where they can focus on changing their culture. The ask of all of you, eventually when we get the survey pulled together, will be to share this as far and wide as you can. The more data we have, the more survey participants, the better we're going to have a set of data that we can analyze and really look at, create some baseline understanding. And the goal here is to put the business leader in the seat of transformation for their company. We've been doing this with technology for so long. Why don't we apply technology and data to understand inclusion and diversity as well?
Awesome. Thank you, Sasha. So yeah, excited to see where that goes and track that as we move along. But as we continue on, back to our new delegates, excited to welcome Mark Mandrelli, Chief Innovation Officer with Helix Electric, If anyone knows Mark or sees him out there, let him know I'm trying to get a hold of him. So excited to welcome on board. He's paid his membership check, but yeah, excited to actually get him involved and get him. I know Helix is doing some really interesting stuff and is a big Ignite user. So excited to welcome them on board. Also, Rachel Riepel, those of you may have seen her, especially if you in the BIM world. She's now the chair of the National Institute of Building Sciences BIM Council. And so CPC is now a sort of member and partner with efforts that they're doing. We just did a post recently about a workshop we did together in DC, really bringing together a lot of this, anchors to rockets and shared pains and gains conversations, slowly opening up these larger government entities to the messages that we're trying to send. So excited to build on that partnership and track where that goes. Also up on the technology side, excited to welcome Jenda in, and Erez is now living in Austin. So Sasha will have to look him up. He just recently moved out from Israel. And so they're doing some really interesting stuff. He's very knowledgeable in the BIM and sort of a schedule 4D, 5D integration side of the world. So excited to welcome his expertise and see where the conversations go with his input. And then a new delegate on the wall side, Zachary, is now coming on as a delegate. I know he's on project now and has some interns that will be submitting for the intern scholarship that we'll be talking about here in a little bit. But excited to have him on board and get him more engaged in our conversations as we move forward, as he is still boots on the ground on projects. But let's go ahead and dive in. Todd, I did not get a chance to step into the thought leadership, but I can only imagine where that conversation went. Take us through what you guys talked about and what if anything came out of it.
Yeah, we had a really interesting debate on the future of the construction industry. Olivier Lipinoy of Autodesk was really helped kind of frame the conversation around his model and framework of hyper construction and the arc of transformation, which is really a business model transformation that is maybe going to happen in the construction industry. And he gave some solid examples of how it's already taken place. And then the majority of the conversation was in a great debate on where it's getting it right, where it might be missing the mark or needing some tweaks and different things in facing the practical realities of stuff. The goal of it is, how do we get people to break out of their silos and think about business models in maybe a different way? And then how does the invisible revolution around data really impact the cultural aspects of what's needed to move the industry forward? And then how do we really maximize the leverage points to make the industry more relational and empathetic and really bring that cultural centric first? So Sasha, you would have had some great insights into the conversation as well, as we kind of merge those two topics together.
So did you decide who is better at adopting frameworks or theories? Is it Lean or BIM? I was curious if there was going to be a little bit of a head there.
We it was kind of funny.
I was setting that one up a little bit, if you couldn't tell.
I feel like, Sasha, you guys started on the cultural side and went data, and we did the reverse. We thought we were going to be, at least I thought it was going to be really data centric, and it ended up being super cultural. and
Love it.
So anyway, it was a really interesting debate and conversation.
That's awesome. Thank you. Cool. So in moving on, one thing I do want to share quickly. So those that are in the Slack channel that participated in February, and if you're not, you'll get it by email soon here, but we at least have the final draft. You can see it's a draft watermark here, but of our final first white paper that we'll be producing for each of these 7 topics that came out. So if you were in either the 2 digitalization or supply chain, you were basically helping to create that final content that will go into these white papers and roll out throughout the rest of the summer. So excited to show that these are moving forward. They are happening. As with everything, supply chain and COVID and everything causes delays, but please do go into Slack, give that a look through, see if you see any points that you want to make in those last final changes. But excited to see those moving forward yes, a lot of labor of love, but it takes a village. Moving on, Jeff, you were leading, and I was actually as sort of observing. Take us through document tagging and why were we in this room? I think that was a big question we were trying to figure out, right? Why are we here?
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of this. Why are we here? And it actually started off, Carol and Matt and the team had worked through some scenarios to actually map this stuff out and then come up with a final. Procore has actually built a tool that works on it, but we actually took a step back, and because we were combining two groups that were a bit separate at the event originally, we had to reset and kind of give everybody understanding where we were and debating whether or not the standard of the ISO 9650 that's used in Europe and now adopted in a lot of other countries could be adopted to here. Why was it? And it kind of moved from, are we having a talk about data? So it's interesting. You guys went all around. Everybody ended up somewhere in data and understanding data and data governance and whether or not these kind of standards would work for us. It was also interesting to see two teams come together and try to kind of storm and normal at the same time. I think we kept pretty much storming most of the time, but it really ended up for me in the spot around a discussion of what that data is and if we could prove that we not only need this current set around design documents, but if there's more that we could, and if this was something the United States could actually benefit from, and if so, how would we go about that?
If Kelly's still on, feel free to add any other insights. I know you have thoughts.
No, this is the summary. We're not debating anymore. This is the summary. So we're
this
good.
is just a summary. So hopefully that captured it. Yeah, thanks for the healthy debate, everyone. That was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, it was. It felt like it was almost frustratingly iterative, but it was actually brought a lot of clarity. And so, yeah, for those of us that are in this world, it was a productive conversation. But if you're not in this world, it was probably like, what were they talking about? Which will be a good segue into by the next topic as well. But let me make sure I am actually sharing my screen this time. Okay, we are sharing. So wanted to give an update. Again, there's a little over a week left to submit if you know any interns within your company or friends and family, whatever, that are within the AEC industry, ideally with 1 or 2 years of intern experience kind of under the belt already. But they'll go through basically a 6-week summer program where I'll just show you a little bit of what the application is real quick that they can fill out. Just give their basic information and a quick little personal letter about their interest in a certain shared pain that they want to solve. Again, could be RFI submittals, as-built handover, whatever, probably workflow that they're working on as part of their internship. So it's a great way for them to bring home a couple grand in extra funds for their school costs, as well as learn a lot about the industry and make great connections. And probably one of you on here would be their mentor kind of throughout this and checking in on them and learning more about the CDX language throughout it. So I will put this link in the chat in a second here before we get into the next topic so that those can share that and make sure we get more applications in and get plenty of good talent for the summer. But on to our last breakout. So Sid was leading the supply chain breakout, which is really, again, a mashup of, we entitled it supply chain because it is really about the digital handoff of the planned cost and schedule planning to the actual reporting of completion through multiple different formats. But reality capture being at the core of it because it came from that topic 4.2. So Sid, I will let you take it away and give a summary of what you guys talked about and any takeaways.
Sure. Thank you, Nathan. It was a small group. We had representation from software, industry standards, general contractors, and we kind of touched mainly focusing on standards. So we have Anil, who represents RICS, a global UK-based forum, and he educated us about NRM, new rules of measurement, and how it's being deployed in Commonwealth countries, mainly in the Middle East, Asia, and someone in Canada. And then Laurie and Bree, brought their perspective from the February event about what are we trying to do? We're trying to build trust. We're trying to connect the dots, design, prefabrication, and owner, and how tech and standards to do it. So it was focusing on how to use in your organizations. We had Ryan presenting his perspective of, and then we have somebody from Zachary Trillium Group, and he explained this. I'm the owner rep, and we'll use a technology or tool that we don't really enforce the standards there. So we spent time brainstorming about, is there a common object between general trade or trade contractors or owners that's common? One sign was a dollar or money or maybe an object. So couldn't really we debated, nobody win in the end, but it was a healthy discussion, and then time ran out. So, but overall, my takeaway was, we have processes, we have these, forums, NRM, CII, CSI, but there's lack of trust is forcing the industry to not connect. And as he said, every owner wants their own standard. That's a culture we probably can impact and see how can we bring them together, because if 10 owners, 15 owners started together, and that gets shape up, that can make software providers happy, that can make GCs, okay, we're gonna follow this to measure progress. I think that's what the key takeaways, and I think thank you for the forum for providing their inputs today.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Sid. I'm not muted, am I? Okay, good. All right, let's take her home here. So just to finish up, just put a few links in. I did put the link into the RICS new rules of measurement. There's some great stuff in there that I think we can really toss around as far as opportunities for standards that are already built. And if we just have a need for them, there's a great pull for that. But if you missed any of those conversations, want to go back and listen to them after the fact, just head to that link to the Construction Progress Coalition YouTube page, hit that subscribe button. And as those recordings go up, you'll be able to go back and watch them. Moving forward, again, these are not possible. There's a lot of legwork and hard work that goes into the background, that both through financial support, as well as obviously everybody that was moderating and participating in these, put their time in to support this cause. So thank you all again for making these possible. We will be doing another one of these in 2 months. We've not set the final date. It'll be most likely either August 17th or August, whatever week after that. And I think because we've been having more of these European input and these conversations, we'll most likely pick an earlier time to compensate for their afternoon. So looking forward to more conversations with our European friends and sharing information using this virtual platform to its fullest. So thank you all, and have a great rest, I guess, most of your summer. We'll catch up again towards the end of the summer, and hopefully I'll talk to most of you through the CDEC Scholarship Program as we do that throughout the summer. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll all talk soon. Thanks, moderators.
Thank you.